Thanks, Martina. Hello again, everybody. Welcome to our Wednesday Family Hub. And this week, I brought this topic up because it's something I've had to do a lot of recently, which is living outside of your comfort zone. And for me, it's a vital part of the steps to self-mastery, because if you stay in status quo, in your cocoon, where you feel safe and any of that, those other words that go with that to describe maybe not where you are now, but where your place of safety is. For me, that's a repetition, which might feel wonderful, but I would ask this question: how does that help you grow? Because from my own experience, having to step away from that has given me huge growth. And in that huge growth it's come with the learning of many lessons, and it has propelled me forward greatly on my path. And I know that we have probably gone in and out of living outside of our comfort zones, maybe all our life. And it wasn't until I stepped into the awareness that I was making a choice to step out of my comfort zone that it really started having an effect on the way I live and how I conduct my life and how I am as a person. So Mary's going to have a look at what is our comfort zone to start with. And then we're going to take it from there. And we just like to open it out to you all to see, what's your comfort zone now? How do you feel you've stepped out of it? If you have, how has it benefited you? And if you haven't stepped out of it, where are you arguing for your limitations? Where are you holding yourself back from all your potentialities? I know there's just some people in this lifetime probably aren't ready to or don't want to step out of their comfort zone. And that's fine, because that's their journey. But I think everybody who's comes to our Earth Nouveau Hub has already stepped out of their comfort zone to some degree, probably many times. So Mary, if you want to kick off with what our comfort zone is.
Yeah, and I suppose one of the things there, Laura, you were saying about, sometimes have we stepped out of our comfort zone, or kind of have we not? And I suppose we have several comfort zones, actually. There would be several layers to it, and we would have stepped in and out of it throughout our lives. And a lot of the time in unawareness, we wouldn't even know that we had done it. So what's good about looking at it is to be able to acknowledge when we did do it, because when I saw the heading coming up, I did question myself and thought, did I ever really step out of my comfort zone? Like, have I always just stayed in my comfort zone and kind of made life easy for myself always? And it was only when I started to prepare a small bit about what it actually is that I realized I actually had stepped out of it many times and didn't even acknowledge that I had done it, because I wasn't aware of what I was doing at the time. But I thought it might be beneficial if we just looked at what it is that we're talking about. And I suppose just psychologically, the way that it gets developed in the child. When the child is born, the child thinks that they are the world. They think they are everything. They think they are part of everything in their environment, and their mother, who is their chief carer. The child doesn't see separateness. And as the child develops, it begins to see the separateness. It begins, and it's difficult when the child starts to realize this. The child starts to realize that there is a boundary between them and the other. They are not the other. So that's the first stage kind of their development in their own individualization. And they start to, test those boundaries throughout their toddler years, I suppose, and testing how far they can push, and they want to keep pushing, and they want to be the center of the world and the center of the universe. And the people in their lives, gently have to let them know where the boundary is. So the child starts to learn that. But actually, throughout our lives, that's a dance that we dance all the time. We're always dancing that dance of me and the other, me and the others. How do I look? How am I perceived? How am I doing? Am I accepted? Am I loved? Am I doing okay? Am I impressing everybody? Do people like me? And the basis for all of those questions is really about survival. Because if those questions can't be answered, not all of them need to be answered with a positive yes, but if we don't get a few yeses in there, you know, we will start to question our survival, because in order to survive, we do need to feel that we're loved by some group of people, by somebody. We need to feel we've had love in our lives. We need to feel that, and like we look for it in the family because they're our first carers, they're our primary carers, the community, the workspace, which is the colleagues, you know, in the outside world, and how we're doing in all those places. We look for some sort of a mirroring that we're acceptable and that we're doing okay. And if we can feel that on a few levels, we feel that we're okay, we're going to be okay, we'll survive. So in relation to the comfort zone, if we feel as we develop more and we start to get more in touch with our own truths, our own sovereignty, the wisdom of our soul, and this starts to come through, and if we're aware of it and we start to question the surroundings and we start to question the decisions that we've made and we start to question what exactly we're doing in our lives. And this can happen, you know, in a kind of a subtle way, almost in unawareness, almost. Sometimes we can say, not sure I like that job, not sure it's doing anything for me anymore, not sure I like where I'm living, not, you know, these kind of just, and you just think that's all it's about, but it's always about something much more than that. It's always about the bigger question of who I am. And in that, as we become more aware of that, and as we become more aware, depending on how we develop ourselves in relation to that, my mic is rubbing, somebody said, I don't know what's happening there. Sorry, I don't know. Yeah, anyway, thanks for telling me that, Matty. Maybe it's my hair. As we become kind of more aware of ourselves and you know, our sovereignty and our soul development, we start to sort of take the steps out where we tentatively express it. And we look to see, how is it received? Is it safe? Is it safe to say this? Is it safe to say I'm doing a course in shamanism when I'm working in the office in the Department of Agriculture? Like, can I talk about that in there? Is it safe to bring that out? And will I be still accepted? Will I be laughed at? And those questions are quite vital when we start to step out like that, because again, it comes back to the original need for survival. That's the baseline that we're looking for all the time, that we're going to be accepted. And if we are, we can survive. And that's ego driven, by the way. Ego is what actually establishes our position in the world. Ego is always looking over the shoulder to see, are you okay? Are you doing okay? Are you accepted? You know, do people like you? That's the job of the ego. But in order, of course, to develop, we have to go beyond ego. And as we develop more, and as we come into more of our own truths, you know, we can express more about our beliefs or our disbeliefs or what we're studying or what we're learning, and we can change course in life in order to be able to come out of that position. And like, we can do a complete U-turn actually in our lives, because we can actually realize, you know, none of this is me at all. Actually, it's really not me. You know, the relationships I have, the jobs I have, like, what am I doing? It's not me. And they do say that the first 40 years of our lives is about our self-development, as in, you know, the ego developing the self to go out into the world. And the last stage of our lives, from the 40 onwards, is about the soul. It's about expressing the wisdom of the soul. Now, we don't all wait until we're 40, thankfully. I don't think I did anyway. So I suppose in saying that, I can definitely acknowledge that I had come out of the comfort zone long before that. But anyway, I just wanted to say that that's kind of what gets set up. And we were just talking about it before we came on air there, and about that whole zone, because we're talking about the discomfort or coming out of your comfort zone. And I was relating it to the home base, which is a kind of a place in psychological terms that gets formed in the child when they're young, where they establish in themselves it's a kind of it's not a physical place, but it can be. Initially it is a physical place. Initially it revolves around their carers, but it's a place that they internalize in themselves, where they can always go to in themselves, anytime, any place in the world. They don't need to have their carers beside them in order to do that. And I was relating that to comfort. And it was interesting in our discussions because it was just questioned. I wonder, is that comfort? Would that relate to comfort? So I suppose I'm going to throw that question out now at you. And I'd love if you all just took part in the discussion really about it and what you think. So off you go. What do you think? Is home base, and is it comfort? Is it not comfort? Is it partly comfort? You know, what would you say about that? Return to the mother's womb, I hear Alan saying here. Yes, Alan. Yeah.
No, Mary, my experience is quite different because, you know, I mean, yourself and some of the other ladies are probably more close to my mother's age. I'm 42. My mother is, she's in her mid-60s. You know, she's a bit older than you guys, I imagine, but like, you know, it's kind of that generation, there's that generational gap. And she is very much someone who was always in their comfort zone. And as growing up, there was never any negativity that was put upon us. No bad news or anything that went on the outside world was ever put towards us, because she had this strict comfort zone, but it was a sense of denial on her part, you know, that was huge in who she was. And so, but for me, growing up in the generation that I did, I don't think we ever had a comfort zone. I never had a comfort zone. I remember as a child feeling like the way that I viewed the world was comfortable, and then something changed, and then my opinion, my view of the world changed, and then all of a sudden I've always been out of my comfort zone until the last sort of 7, 8 years, when I reached that, approaching that 40, that 48, you know, and it's sort of like 33, I think, was when I first started to look at the world very differently. And the comfort zone for me now is not a negative thing. The comfort zone for me is I know it's the way that I structure my life, where it's not that I'm in control, but it's that I'm in balance with myself and the way I view the world, and I'm at peace, I suppose. So it's very different to what the generation before me, which is kind of your guys' generation, how you guys viewed the world, because the comfort zone was very much a part of the fact that you had all of that physical structure around you, the home, the children, the life, the house, the money in the bank, all of that stuff created security. Whereas my generation, that was, you know, we missed that. That was, that, you know, it's the haves and have-nots now.
Yeah.
And, you know, and that happened quite quickly after the 90s. So the idea of a comfort zone, I don't think that's something that my generation really experienced very much at all, unless someone is in denial.
That's very interesting, Matty. And I suppose I'm wondering, what was it like not to have experienced a comfort zone? Like, how did you feel as a child?
As a child, I was completely innocent, and I a lot of the stuff I experience now, I can remember things as a child that I'd forgotten, that are similar experiences. So you know, I'm more like that child now than I ever have been in my life. And I think that's my comfort zone, actually, because that was the only time I ever felt safe, you know?
Yeah.
And, but after that, it's just, you know, it's just other people's opinions, you know? Oh gosh, I went through all of the different emotions, all of them, anger, violence. I mean, in school, I remember in school, I was made to, even when I was a tiny little kid, like nowadays, I would have been diagnosed with, I don't know, ADHD, autism, all different kinds of things. I would have been medicated, you know. But in my day, they used to just punish you for it, you know.
Yes,
So
I
mean, even as a little child, I was even in assembly, I used to have to sit at the front of assembly facing the wall, every assembly, and just sit there at the front when everyone else was at the back facing the wall, you know. And at lunchtimes, I was made to stand against huts by the dinner ladies. All kinds of stuff, and right through to school, and to the point where I used to spunk school, and then no one ever said anything about it, you know. So there was never, like, I would never felt comfortable anywhere, apart from childhood, until sort of now, last few years.
I know.
And that's through that, like, just being comfortable in my own skin, you know. So I don't have that problem with being able to create somewhere where I feel really safe, that I can go into anytime I want, that's negative to me, because, you know, I feel safe through something different. don't know if that makes sense, Mary. Just
It makes perfect sense, Matty. I just didn't want to interrupt you there while you were talking, because what I'm realizing when you're talking there, and I would realize it too in my own experience, even though I would be older than you, that what I would have considered to be my comfort zone or my safe place or my home base was actually full of discomfort.
Yes.
So there was a lot of discomfort. There was anxiety, there was fear. So did I fit in? Sometimes, most of the time probably didn't. And I suppose when I was growing up, it would have been difficult to be involved in, you know, I wasn't involved in this kind of stuff until I was a bit older, but I was still involved in it young enough. You know, I had started going to psychics when I was young and all that, because I knew there was much more to the world than what I just saw in front of me. And that was difficult because there was nobody to bounce that off, especially back then. You know, there are more people now around that are awake. So it's interesting that what might have been considered the comfort zone or the home base for all of us can be full of discomfort, and it's how we manage that and handle that. And was that a kind of a catalyst for us to look for something bigger outside of ourselves and outside of that comfort zone place, you know, within ourselves and within the environment? Do you know what I mean?
I do. And you know, it's funny because my comfort zone was destructive. It was an uncomfortable zone. But I would go to it, you know, it was always destructive. It was drink, drugs, violence, all that kind of stuff that my generation grew up with, you know, in the kind of estates where we grew up and the things that were going on. And it was always about, you know, like it comes from school, like ego, like you're going to be a victim or you're going to be an aggressor. Well, most of us are both. That's the way it goes.
Yes, exactly.
You know?
Does anybody else have, sorry, Matty.
No, it's okay.
I see Linda has her hand up. Linda.
It's interesting because you said about the generation thing, and I agree with what you're saying, but in a different way, because my home was a bit like a war zone, really, and I think I learned to self-medicate, and I overate, and then I got really fat, and then I got bullied at school, so I didn't really fit in anywhere. And then I got into dope, and that was wonderful for a while because it just numbs you. And then I don't know, I had various relationships, but I've always fought to find somewhere that's, and there is nowhere except in you. I don't think you have to find it internally.
Yeah.
But it's a hard lesson finding it.
It's kind of a lifetime lesson, isn't it, really, Linda? Because I think, as I was saying earlier, we're always doing that dance, you know, dancing the dream of life, finding yourself. So you're always finding your footing in different ways, in different areas. So we're kind of doing that. It's kind of part of what we're doing here, really, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think a lot of trying to find a comfort zone relates a lot to addictions and things like that, and
Yeah, it does. Yes, it does take us down a lot of different paths like that. Does anybody else want to say anything?
I can't find the hand button. Where's the hand button?
I don't know, Martina.
Anyway, I did.
Sorry,
anyway. Yeah. I haven't got a hand button either, actually.
I can very much relate to what Matt is saying there. When we were talking earlier, and I thought about comfort zone, I don't think I've ever been in a comfort zone. I don't actually, I looked at it from I translated comfort zone into German, and I thought maybe Komfort, it's not a word, it's not an energy that I would have ever used. It's not a place I want to be in, to be honest. But it's not really doing anything. So a bit like growing up in a place of challenge. So for me, discomfort would be, I would say for discomfort for me is almost like, I would correlate challenge to it, and that's not uncomfortable for me. And then the comfort zone, what some people, consider comfort zone, I would consider now, I would call it choice. So my journey has been from challenge to choice. With the definition that we have for comfort, we could say there's comfort and discomfort and all of that, but it doesn't really make any sense, because for me, if you look at what's the opposite of, you were using survival, right? Now, survival brings us into comfort. No, the opposite of survival is thrival, right? So comfort actually doesn't come in. So I've had a few people say to me, get out of your comfort zone. And I'm like, I don't necessarily understand what you're saying. Now, the situation I'm in would probably be considered comfortable, but it's very far from comfortable for me, because my comfort zone, if you wish, is related to creation, not to survival. As a compulsive creator, I want to create all the time. And if I don't create all the time, I'm immediately in a place of discomfort. So all I can say is comfort for me, I could probably call it content, a place of stillness. But I don't need to get out of discomfort. I don't need to get in. For me, it's almost a restrictive energy, because again, it's used and abused and misidentified a lot in this reality to make you feel wrong or make you feel right.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah, I agree with that, Martina, and I see where you're coming from in that. I suppose just because I'm giving the psychological background to the development, we'll say, of the child and how they establish that kind of safe place in themselves, that's what I was looking at. But of course, as we're getting older, we come out of that, and we're in and out of that all of the time. And you know, as you say, when somebody says to you, come out of your comfort zone, it does raise a question like, well, am I in a comfort zone? Am I in one to begin with? I don't think I am, actually.
That is good, on how we're going to define comfort, isn't it? That is in the context of this, let's say it's repetition. And as I think Lynn's just put up, you know, there's a fine line between comfort and boredom. Did you put up, Lynn?
Yes, she did. Yeah. Linda did. Yeah.
Absolutely. So maybe, you know, Martina's continual co-creation and creation means there's not a repetitive process there. Well, I suppose to some degree it's repetitive, but it's not new creations. If Martina's continually making new creations, then you almost haven't got, you're not in a repetitive situation, are you? Because science has proved, I think science has shown that repetition shuts down part of the brain. So maybe in this, we ought to decide how we want to define the comfort zone, and then look at why we need to step out of it and what it does for us when we do step out of it. So maybe it's the sort of the mundane routine that we're talking about in the comfort zone.
Yeah.
I'd like to chime in quickly, if I may, because I completely agree with Martina here. And I think, Martina, for me, I'm always striving for the next level, then the next level, then the next level. And that goes for everything that I do, the work I do, the way that I do business, everything. I'm like quickly planning, and then planning the next one, and then planning everything, you know. And for me, it's kind of that's my comfort zone. Well, I'm feeling like I'm achieving that motion of my creation process. And I think that's the way that I would experience sometimes, in order to come out of your comfort zone. For me, it means putting the brakes on, much like what Martina was talking about.
It's almost like, for me, it would be, you know, as soon as I would feel comfortable, I'm already uncomfortable again, because what's the next thing for me as a compulsive creator? So that's why I've never really looked at comfort so much as such. And that's why I think it's a great topic to look at. And it's really just like anything else, something we need to define for ourselves. Now, there's another thing I can throw in here, because when I look at that, it's all my life I've been a giver. I've been a fixer. I've been a solution person. Yeah. So, and then that was the first part of my life. This part of my life now is where I knew I had to learn to receive rather than just give, fix, and all that. Now, that could be perceived now, depending on how you define it. Oh, she's in a comfort zone, you know, no, it's not comfortable to learn to receive. It's such a difficult thing to learn to receive when you've been a giver all the time, a fixer, a solution. And let's look at that from that perspective. So again, it's not really just because you're not doing anything, you think you're bored, you're just learning to receive. So this is another way of maybe just redefining comfort a little bit for yourself.
Or
Yes.
your processing stuff.
Process.
I mean, we do need time to actually come back to that, whatever definition of comfort zone you want to have. From my experience, we do need a certain amount of time there. This isn't about wrong or right, or what you should be doing. This is just whatever the comfort zone is for you. Sometimes you do need to be there, because what I've experienced is, great, you step out your comfort zone, wow, you're sort of living in the moment, which is fantastic. The old adrenals kick in, and life can be exciting. You get a great deal of clarity, you discover new things, anything like that. I mean, there's so many things that are stepping out of your comfort zone, whether it's learning to speak your truth without feeling any projections from others, or whether it's trying something exciting and new that you've never done, that you've been in fear about before. I mean, there's a whole range of things that cover stepping out of your comfort zone. And it really can do so much for the aliveness of you and your body in that moment. But I don't know that it's something that you want or that would benefit you continually. You can't live out off your adrenals continually. That's detrimental. So there comes a time when you do have to step back into your comfort zone, whatever definition of that you want to use, I think, just to process or to receive, as Martina says, or something that stops or slows down. I suppose it depends what the experience is you're going through out of your comfort zone, but something that gives you time to process and assess. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So what if we call that choice?
Yes, for both of those. So you choose. So what you're saying is you choose when to step out of your comfort zone. You choose when to step back into whatever your comfort zone is. What about when you feel forced out of your comfort zone by somebody else's actions?
That's when you produce the most light. That's when that's when the programs click out and you have to go to action, or not, if that's the kind of person you are.
But it's your choice.
The true self steps in. Yeah. Or, well, yes, you're forced in, aren't you? It removes choice if you're forced, Laura, wouldn't it? Yeah. So it's like the sovereign self has to step in then.
Well, we're talking living in the new energies, all right?
Yeah.
And this is what we're trying to do here is to relate an old concept almost.
Yeah, and it feels that actually
into the new energy. It's an old concept.
It is.
Comfort zone, challenge is all old stuff. The energy is all about choice. Now, as a being of choice, with self-mastery and sovereignty, can you ever be forced into anything? No. But you can make a choice realizing that it's better to get the fuck out of here because this is no longer conducive to yourself.
Or I choose to entangle.
Now, the thing is, you could say it's the same thing, but it's actually not, because you always have choice.
Exactly.
Sorry, Amy was on. Sorry.
Amy,
no, go on.
No, that's okay. Okay, let me just see if I can tie all this in for my own purpose here. So I get what Laura was saying, because what's the difference between when someone says you need to get out of your comfort zone? I was basically on autopilot. That's another, word salad there. But I would definitely get into my adrenal glands and be like, oh my God, okay. All right. You know, if somebody would ask me to give me a speech and I had to talk in front of people, I'd be like, oh, my heart would beat. Everything would just, and I'd be like, okay, I have to do that. But I love the fact that the last few years, it's like, no, I have a choice. I have a choice that I don't need to do that. But am I tricking myself in the same way? Because I did get growth from that comfort zone coming out of it. So I'm a little confused on that. Like, I appreciated it at the time, but now I can see another side to it, that it's a choice. But am I tricking myself? I feel like sometimes I do.
In what way, Amy, do you feel you're tricking yourself?
Like, am I hesitant because I'm not going inside and asking myself, and I would just do it as a reflexive thing? Like, oh, someone said that I need to do that. I need to, yeah, you're right. I need to grow there in that part of my life.
It's just
yeah, that's why
question.
I don't, yeah.
Mm.
Well, I used to take questions people would ask me very seriously.
Well, maybe you're taking the question as a statement, and it's not, it's just a question. I was asking you how, in what way you thought you were tricking yourself. And
Well, yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Did I misinterpret that, Amy?
No, maybe the word, go ahead.
Yeah, go on.
No, the trick is, am I tricking myself in a way that says, you really do need to maybe change this about that?
Okay.
And then I'll say, if the choice is, I can say yes or no. Yeah. Like, I look at both sides. I guess I look at both sides to things, and never looked at both sides. I don't know, maybe I'm confusing. Sorry.
No, you're actually making perfect sense. I'm just wondering what would it be like, or do you ever remember any time doing it where you didn't think at all, where you just kind of intuitively thought or knew it was the right thing to do? So you didn't actually put enough of thought into it, you just did something without thinking too much about it.
Yes, yes, but only the past few years. So I think I've had growth, you know, let's say since my 30s. And I think that that's helped me in a way. It could be both my intuitive telling me, and I didn't know what that was, you know? So yeah, but now I understand my intuitiveness more. I'm more honed in on it. And so now I can do that.
Sounds like you're trusting it,
yeah,
it
for
more.
sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Hesitation, Amy.
Yeah, I know. I use that word, hesitation. When I hesitate, that's when I have to stop and ask myself those potentials for me, not for anybody else, for my own choice. And yeah.
So what do if we step out of that box of comfort or discomfort, close the box, what's left? Choice. Pure choice. Everything else is judgment. Yeah. I think if anyone says to you, get out of your comfort zone, tell them to fuck off.
Yeah, I agree.
Interesting point of view.
Because they've already judged something.
First of all, how do you know are you judging me because I've got a car outside and I've got a house, I've got this or that? Yeah. How do you know if I'm really comfortable? Yeah. What is it even? And what's the difference? What's the difference between comfortable and comfort zone? Can you perceive a difference between I'm feeling comfortable or I'm in my comfort zone?
Yeah.
Think of it, comfort zone. Yeah. This is my zone. Get the fuck out of here. It's totally separation thinking, right? So I don't want to be in a comfort zone where I'm separating myself from everyone else. For what reason? I'm a self-mastered person, sovereignty, it means nothing to us. It used to mean something to us, probably. But that's the question. Does it still mean something to you now? Or can we just take that comfort and replace it with making a choice?
Alan has his hand up, Martina. Does anybody want to answer Martina's question first?
Oh, it wasn't probably a
Wasn't a question, okay.
one of those.
All right.
One of those.
Alan, do you want to speak now?
Yeah. Thanks, Mary. I was just going to agree with Martina about choice and the choice point of being in a comfort zone and getting out of the comfort zone. The example that I would use would be, I love taking warm showers. I'm in my comfort zone then. Having a cold shower is putting me in that discomfort area, but I will make that choice to do it because I know it takes my body into a new set of experiences, new sets of awarenesses. So I was just going to use that as a simple example of allowing choice in and bringing a new homeostasis into the body, allowing you to create that new sense of awareness. I find that the discomfort of that cold shower is limited. It's that initial turbulence. And when you can get out of that initial turbulence, you can find new comfort in that experience. And with it just comes that growth.
I totally agree, Alan. I do some cold showers. I try to, but it's tough at first, and then after a while, the feeling that the body gets is huge. It's hugely different. Sorry, Linda's got her hand up.
No, it's just talking. I just wonder if you think of comfort or choice. If you look at it as energy, just as energy, is it a fact that have you got enough energy to deal with a new experience, to push yourself into that new experience? Because even though you might be totally within your sovereign self, sometimes you may not actually feel you have that energy to deal with something new. So, and yet the situation you're in might require you to try and address something and do something new. So then it is a choice that you do it, but you're doing it, it doesn't feel comfortable because your energy isn't matching the action that's required. I don't know if it makes sense.
It does. Let me just speak to this, because exactly like the metaphor of the cold shower, hot shower. The thing is that there are times in our lives that there's something pending and we don't want to do it, or something happens and we don't want to do it, and we have this feeling about we run all these things through our mind. What's it going to be like? And then you do it, and then you realize that the experience was less suffering than the actual worrying about it. The actual, like the part where it came into your mind space and then leading up to the event itself. And then the event itself was completely really non-traumatic. And then all that hurt and worrying that's gone on before, that's it. It's that resistance to just accept into what's inevitable or what is. It's always resistance.
So we're talking about awareness. The new beings in this new energy work on the basis of awareness. Okay, so how does that fit all in? Because we're talking a lot about feelings now, bodily, feelings and all of that. We're trying to get away from all of that. This is all fantastic, but from a choice perspective, how can we start creating from a place of awareness without putting ourselves into that separation of comfort or discomfort? Because it's a definition as itself, and it takes away from our capacities as people, beings of pure awareness. Now, Linda, you said something really cool there. You talked about the energy, and sometimes maybe the time is not right either. So what awareness do we actually have when we choose to just stay put? Right? We're not we're choosing to not do anything because we have an awareness, maybe, yes, we don't have enough energy. We have an awareness it's too cold, so we're not doing it, you know? So it's just, I know it's a definition thing, but we need to start rethinking how we're using our words along those lines, because it's not just because we're feeling it. We're having an awareness that a cold shower is just not what you want, right?
Yeah.
So you're choosing something else. But what's got that to do with the comfort zone? That's my question. You know, as we're really using the level that we are now, working from awareness and choice, do we need any of these other definitions?
No, is my answer to that, Martina. I think we've outgrown that. And I think the definitions in themselves are limitations. That's how I'm experiencing it. And I'm even experiencing it through this discussion. I don't know if anybody else wants to share anything about how they're feeling right now. But right now, I am energetically feeling a little bit agitated and agitated by the topic. And it's like, it's annoying me, actually. And I and I think, I don't know about this. It just feels like I've left this behind. You know, I don't want to think like this anymore. I don't want to think whether I'm in the zone or I'm out of the zone. Who cares whether I'm in or out of it anyway? And I'm having a great time, whatever I'm in or out of, and that's it. That's just how I'm feeling.
And how amazing it is that we have chosen that subject. How important is it that we've chosen it to come to that realization, right?
Yes.
We wouldn't have chosen it, you know, we would have, again, when somebody says get out of your comfort zone, get in your comfort zone, it's like, oh no, I'm sorry, what am I supposed to be?
Can't leave it all.
You know, I'm totally comfortable where I am.
Yeah.
You know what, guys, like my lifestyle, man, like my mum is totally afraid of me all the time, thinks that like, oh my God, he's gonna get in so much trouble, you know, and I live with that pending, like all kinds of different pressure in my life, and I've just had it for so long that it doesn't even affect me. Even things that would really worry or keep people awake, it doesn't bother me. I found that ability to just knock it out, because you look at synchronicity and you look at the way that life flows, and you know that the choices that you make, it doesn't matter whether you want to go one way or another. You know that whichever way you choose, there's certain choices you can make along the way, certain moral code that you have to have, that means that whatever choice you make, you do it with the best of intentions. And you just know without any form of control that things are going to work out for you, or signs are going to be there, you know. There's no need for any form of comfort anymore, I don't think. I think the comfort comes from literally just flowing.
Yeah. So here's a question. Can you be completely uncomfortable?
Yes.
Can you receive total discomfort?
I do, but I don't like it at all.
Okay. So this is the thing, when we get to a stage where we can allow ourselves to be utterly uncomfortable, discomfort, whatever you want to call it, then we're getting there, right?
Yeah.
But of course, there's something Laura said, which is, and this is the next level now, because choice creates. So call it getting out of your comfort zone or choosing, it's still the same thing on some level. Yes? Because in order to create a change, you still have to make a choice. Right, Laura? You were talking about this early on, because you made certain choices that created a completely different level of living and awareness.
Yeah, and choice shows that they needed courage and commitment, which is why I said for me they're part of the self-mastery course. But now we've had this discussion so far, I can see actually the limitations of calling something a comfort zone. But for the moment, I had no other words from that. I came from one place, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, if you like. And I made a choice to go to another place. And to do that felt like a leap of faith. It felt I had to trust myself, use my intuition, and it felt that I needed the courage to do it. So for me, in the old terms, that's stepping out of my comfort zone. In our new energetic terms, it's just making a choice in greater awareness to develop for the evolution of my soul. Yeah, to put myself, for me, it was to put myself on a dharmic path and to step out of karmic situations, let's say. I mean, there's going to be so many variety of these for everybody, all different degrees of things. I mean, sometimes it does feel like I step out of the old comfort zone to present a Zoom. Yeah, that's just a little one. Now let's call it, it's now choice, because I want to better the way I present, and I want to engage with my family on the hub, and I want to share ideas. So I'm going to continue to make the choice of being involved with the hub and presenting it, and going on beyond that to do other things myself. So yeah, I guess it's getting rid of some of this old limiting terms, as Martina says, and recognizing what actually we are doing.
And it's hugely important, I think, because you see the energy that was just presented, it's a completely different energy. You know, there's so much happening on the unseen that we're not considering because we just can't see it. But when you come from this space, you come as I'm a creator, I'm choosing this. And once I'm done choosing this, I'm choosing the next thing. And it's not anymore, or I have to better myself and step out of something because I was less. This is the difference in the frequency. Yeah. And that's why it makes a difference to start working and using the words from that perspective and start seeing the limitation and the judgment in the old ways, in the old words. So absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. For me, I chose growth.
Yeah.
Evolution, Laura. It's evolution. That's what you're talking about. You know, it's like we're no longer beings of karma. You know, we're beings of resolution. Everything that we do is resolving, and that's how my life feels like. It gets better and better and better and better. And that doesn't mean it's all glorious. It's uncomfortable along the way. But those twists and turns, you know, teach you the lessons, and then you gain the wisdom because you're being neutral and you learn it. And you know, it's evolution, isn't it? It just takes leap by leap by leap by leap by leap. We're no longer stepping backwards into old habit patterns. You have to step out. So maybe we could say comfort zones are really just old habit patterns.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing, sorry, Mary, for me, it's a responsibility. Just coming, Andrea. It's also some sort of responsibility as well, I felt, to my own path. Just adding to that. Andrea, you wanted to say?
And Amy as well, I think, had their hands up there, yeah. And sure,
yeah,
but
I think Andrea was there a while. Sorry to keep you, Andrea. Come on.
Okay, thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to play. And for the past maybe few weeks, I have been part of a very profound conversations. And we spoke about many stuff, you know, people always bring up many things, including struggle or comfort or discomfort or many subjects. And it really goes back to us, to the self. And there's we spoke about that, you know, when something comes up in you, anything, because it's all data, you apply the tool or whatever, the clearing, whatever you do, the struggle will stop and freedom begins. So everything starts zero. We start with zero when we're born. So that stops and freedom begins. And inspirations come through, but we don't know. We truly don't know. So when one takes responsibility in the way I do it, everybody is different in this topic. The way I do it is, I never know, because it comes off of every single being in the universe, that I truly never know what issues or what stuff or whatever is resolving. And the more I do it, that what happened the past, let's say, 3 months is not short of a miracles. And I'm not doing it for that. I'm simply doing this to be in the flow, like Martina was saying, to receive the good, the bad, the ugly, to anything, because that's where we start. We start with zero, we start within. And I was just organizing, and I wanted to read something for you guys, because I just thought when Mary started to speak, this poem came up for me, and it's called Who Am I? This poem is only for I. What will I discover and why? Who am I and what is my mission? How can I become a magician? Do I feel stuck or anxious each day? Do I give up or do I run away? Do I see darkness and no chance? Do I have time to smile and dance? How come everything is misty? Why is my path rocky and twisty? When I arrived here on earth, I was perfect and a lot of worth. I looked in the mirror and I see the love I lost is really me. By accepting this powerful device, I am ready to play and roll the dice. When I'm unsure which way to go, I consider looking into my soul. The key will be there, right within. I reach for it and my freedom will begin. Which is what I said, that everything is within and starts from us. So when we do apply the tool, everything will disappear and the flow will start. But we don't do it for results or any other stuff, just so we're free. Then we just float. And one day Martina goes and have a brisket. One day she sits at home because that's where she was comfortable, or not comfortable, but that's what she's, aware of, like she said. And one day, whatever,
Thanks, Andrea. That was actually lovely, and your poem is lovely as well. Thank you so much. That was for your contribution. I see Amy's hand up, so I just want to go to her because I think she has her hand up for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I just love how this whole thing just shifted, the whole with this new found thing, but with like this way of, I just have this gratitude of the people that have helped me in the past to get out of my comfort zone, if you want to use the old way, because that was my evolution. I couldn't be on this hub if I didn't have all those victories, through that path. So I just wanted to say that my evolution has made very, quantum leaps, like even this past year. So I just wanted to say I'm in gratitude for that, but I know that the energy needs to shift to a new way. And I love what everybody said about that.
Amy, would you say that in your experience, like progression has been a speeding up or a slowing down?
Pardon me, say it again.
Your progression, is it speeding up or slowing down? As in
speeding up.
Speeding up, but as in like the way that you experience it. Do you need to experience life as fast or slow?
Do I need to experience? It's a mix. It's a mix for me. Does that make sense? It's
yeah.
Sometimes I do need to go slow. Sometimes I do need to go fast. But I will say, before I was on my adrenals going fast, like in my 30s, 40s, it was a fast, yeah. But now it's a choice. Yeah.
they say like in motor car racing, they say sometimes the fastest way to go is slow. And that's what my experiences have been recently. I know you're probably experiencing the same thing.
Yeah, very fast.
But it's like moment to moment to moment to moment, the way the mind thinks, the way that we attach to things and grab to thoughts and bits and bobs, and the way that the mind tricked us into taking it off into different places. All of that kind of stuff, you know, it's just overwhelming, isn't it? You know, and I found that, like, as we progress, it's not really about all of the, you know, the huge mystical experiences that do happen along the way, but it's about you yourself being able to like stop that, reaching out to all of those things and that fast-paced thought, and come back to just being able to just move in a gentle direction. Does that make sense?
Okay, yes, I see what you, yes, that makes sense to me now that you put a picture to it. Yeah, it's, yes, I could see. That's why I kind of said fast and slow, because it looks like it's fast to me, but it's actually like a slowing down, if that makes sense.
Oh, it does. I think that's a great description, actually, Amy. I experienced a lot of things like that in life, as them both going fast and slow all at the same time. And I actually couldn't differentiate between whether it was fast or slow.
Yes.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And I can't explain it either any better than that. It's just words fail me.
Okay. I know, that's another thing. It's like,
yeah.
You guys are great, because it's like we go beyond like just the words. It's like, that is comfort zone is not the word that I would describe it, but I know that I did all my evolution on my own. It's just these people came into my life to show me that I needed to do this to get to where I am right now in this moment.
And be grateful too to you for being able to receive it, because that too can't be overlooked. And that too was you being able to receive that and reach outside of the word that we hate now, the comfort zone. But, you know, just acknowledge that, Amy, that you were there and you did receive it, and it has brought you to the place that you're at now. And that's a place that you are content with or happy with, or, you know, I don't know what the word would be to describe how you feel about it, but it seems good anyway.
Yes, thank you, Mary. Yeah, that's true. The receiving was a difficult thing for me to receive. I always wanted to give to people and never receive because of judgments that I had. But yeah, that helps. Thank you so much.
And sometimes it's safer in the giving than the receiving. Yeah, it's safer to be giving. Yeah, that's what you were going to say, Matty?
Yeah, I was just like, you know, that's the comfort zone. It's the person that doesn't really, you know, if you don't think about what is it that you want, what is it that you desire, and if those thoughts become something of a sin to you, you know, then it's always about just giving, and this is martyrship, and but it's been ingrained into motherhood, you know, and it's not a judgment, man. It's just one of those programs that you can do both. You can still give but receive at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Maddie.
Up some time back. Sorry, that's three of us, I think, talking there. Go ahead, I'll stop. Go on. Who was talking?
Okay, say quickly.
I was asking you.
A new way. Okay.
Sorry, Laura, go ahead.
A new way of this. That's okay. I'll get this out. I will get this out.
Get it out.
A new way of looking at this, it better be worth it, hadn't it now, is we're going to the edges of our unknowingness. Yeah. If you don't want to use, we don't want to use the old terms out of your comfort zone. We're not going to have a comfort zone. But as masters, illuminated masters, you continually go to the edge of your unknowingness for self-discovery and growth.
Yes.
I wanted to say, so I'll hand it over.
What I found.
Shoba is having her hand. Sorry, Shoba's hand's been up for some time.
It has, yes.
That's it. It's not on mine. Oh, yeah, there it is. Sorry.
You're muted, Shoba. You need to unmute. You're muted.
Okay, love.
Okay, yeah, off you go.
fantastic, Mary, with what you said. It was suddenly like felt all the hairs go up on my arm. It's like, who gives a fuck about comfort zone now? You know, really, it's like a light just went on inside of me, because lifetime have spent running around the planet doing stuff. I've got a CV that would blow anybody's mind, but I've always ever made one choice. And that's just to go inside and be quiet and meditate, be spiritual. And it's like now what you said, it's like kick that out. There is such a database now to pull on. And you can kind of sit in the middle of it and there's all these choices coming up. It's like boom, 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 boom. And comfort zone's not a part of it anymore. Yeah. So thank you. And thank you for Matty with what you said, because I think this is great. All of you have contributed. And I'm just sitting here buzzing, actually, because I don't want to be fitted into a title like comfort zone. I don't want to be that small anymore.
I think that's the one thing we're actually getting out of this discussion today. And I think we're all feeling it, that we've all outgrown this idea of comfort zone. We're even finding it difficult to say the word at this stage in the discussion.
You kind of got to pull it out.
Maybe we could substitute the word comfort for limitation.
Yeah.
Let's say limitation.
Yeah.
No, I want to sit here, just here. This is how I want to be. Well, fuck me, look at all that other stuff that's going on here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah.
But you're still in the center of it all. And it's your choice whether to move out from it. This is the beauty of it. That's where the life is. It's like, wow, it's right there.
And there's no right and wrong choice as well, right? You know, it's like, it's like, before you, this concept is that one's right or one's wrong, right? Well, no, both can be right. It depends on your moral code and your processes, how you go about them. You can do each one in a right or a wrong way. That's the beauty of it. It's an infinite universe.
Exactly.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you, Shobha. Thank you. Anyone else have anything to say? Or Laura there, have you anything to add?
No, I don't think my signal's very good.
My signal is terrible too. That's why you and I were overlapping there, Laura. I have a delay on mine here.
Yeah, Andrea says I've got, and my lips aren't in sync.
I think she was talking, but her lips were coming out.
So, Alan, did you want to say something early on?
The idea that I was having was the limitation of the adrenals. Going back to the example of the cold shower. When I take a cold shower, what limits me are my adrenals just starting right off, and that's the fight or flight. And I found if I use the techniques, the breathing, to put myself back into a heart space knowingness or a heart space thinking, then you avoid the adrenals. So what I'm wondering is that this comfort zone, uncomfort zone, this getting to the edge of the unknown, whether it's really about stopping the adrenals, the fight or flight. I think that seems to have a big impact on our ability to take ourselves to the edge of the unknown.
Yeah, I agree with that. Go on, Laura.
Sorry.
No, we have a problem, both of us.
I think we're on a separate Zoom, Mary and me. Being fully in our vagus nerve is what I was going to say to Alan's. Absolutely, I agree. Yeah.
And what I was going to say, Alan, was if you're fully in the adrenals, or if the adrenals are working overtime, it keeps you going too fast. So you can't get to that place of knowingness because you're just moving too fast. The energy is going too fast in the going and the doing, you know, and the goal setting and achieving, that kind of thing, you know, the way the adrenals work to keep you like on a treadmill kind of. So I get what you're saying. It's the same as, you know, what you were saying there, Laura, too. Yeah, I agree.
You know, you could have someone who's like two people living next door to each other, one who's on benefits, has no money in the bank, doesn't give a complete shit about life, but just is enjoying themselves day to day to day to day. next person who owns the house has loads of money, has all this stuff going on, a business to run. But if in their mind, they're constantly worrying and thinking about everything they've got to do, everything they've got to blah, 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 you know, all this, you know, it's a state of mind. It doesn't, success is like, you know, it's a fallacy, isn't it? You know, but it doesn't matter what situation you're in. It's are you worrying and allowing the pressures of life and the need to control everything to affect your happiness and your growth? It is release, isn't it? It's literally, it's a flow of just allowing life to happen.
Yes.
I love what you said, Alan.
Let me also add to that is, as long as we are in adrenal function, we're not in choice. Okay, adrenal
Yeah.
function is pretty much judgment, and it takes us out of choice.
Yes.
It takes us out of awareness too, because choice is really awareness, and awareness is choice. Now, okay, having said all that, it doesn't really matter if you want to call it comfort zone or discomfort. It doesn't really matter what you call it. Just look at the energy and play with the energy. Maybe it has helped to look at it from a slightly different perspective. At the end of the day, you can call it whatever you want, right? Now, the question now would be, so coming out of survival, getting into choice, into thrival, what does that actually look like? What does thrival really mean to you? Which is really being out of this comfort zone, right? So what does thrival look like for us? What does it mean to you?
For me, you align with spirit. So every time I've closed a door, spirit works with me to move me forward. I know that, whether it be synchronicities and things for me have moved very quickly when I've stepped out of the old energies and into the new energies, if that's how you want to look at it. When I've made those choices for my own self-evolution, spirit is right up there with you. That's my experience of it. You get into divine flow.
So let me ask you a question, Laura. Does that feel closer to the discomfort zone or the comfort zone?
It's a new comfort zone. Using the old language, that is a new place I want to be. If you looked at it, the place I want to be, and there'll be another place I want to be when I've outgrown those energies, or whatever energies it is that have given me this new comfort. There'll be another place I seek. And I know if I don't move on to that place, my recent experience is I won't get the results I want, because I feel so much now the pull of my greater soul, whatever you want to call it, that the divine pull is there too. So if I'm not doing my soul's choice now, I really feel it, and I really feel it when I am doing it.
Yeah. So survival is just not good enough anymore, you know?
No.
Martina, can I chime in? Because you know what Laura said just touched me so much, man. You know, I love you, Laura, my sister, and you know, like it is beautiful, isn't it? It's like it's just evolution. It's just choice, you know. And oh, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit blown out. I had something to say, but I've been mind wiped.
Well, say it, Matthew. Okay.
You share it later, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is a fabulous feeling, and it is. Yeah, Martina, thank you, because you've actually. That was a really clever question, or whatever you said was really. That was full of wisdom, because that made me realise, yeah, that is the new temporary comfort zone. That is the new place I want to be. Yeah, well done. That's brilliant. I like that.
That was cool.
Great question.
Yeah.
And we probably do that all the time. We probably make new comfort places for ourselves, or comfort zones all the time. Do you know?
I'm learning you do it much more by feel. There's so much more feel to it now.
Yeah, well, there's awareness, isn't there?
Yeah.
The renaissance of that, of the renaissance of feelings, where we are actually really stepping into our psychic capacities instead of the empathy, right?
Yes.
Because let's face it, we are at the precipice of starting to feel everyone's emotion again, right?
Yeah.
Literally, physically, everything. But in the new state of sovereignty and mastery, we're not going to entangle with it. We stay that unentangled observer, which again, neither comfort nor discomfort. It's a completely new energy. Again, where we have to choose.
Don't you feel, Martina, it's about, you know, going back to the basics, and I found that, like, it's making the greatest choices in the now. That's what Laura was talking about. It's moment to moment to moment to moment. The moment that you try to plan anything or try to project too much and say, this is what I want to achieve, then you limit your experience. And so each and every moment, as you make certain choices of a day to day, you may say, oh, I want to venture over to this place today, and then you back that up each day to day, or you retract, you know, and but if you do that without any expectations, life starts to unfold. You know, it's that worrying about what happened or what will happen. You just make choices in the moment, now to now to now. It's those basic, like, living in the now teachings. I never thought I'd ever say that.
Staying in the unlimited point of view.
Being in the now, being in the now. I hate that when people say that, in the now. I hate it, but it really makes sense now.
Let's look at one thing. So thrival is connected, or the new way of comfort is connected to receiving. So let's look at that. When have you, or what can you think of, was a very uncomfortable situation for you in this lifetime? What, whenever that was, give us an example.
Martina, I don't want to take up too much time. I know I've been talking a lot, but I do have a good example.
Okay.
I've talked about this before, but I remember when I was arrested and I was taken into a cell, and through my lifetimes, there's many times I've been arrested, but this was the first time that I'd arrested for something that wasn't minor, that I knew would get me jail time. And when I was arrested and I was put into the cell, it was the highest vibration moment I've ever experienced in my life. You know, it was, I was there, and it was, I should have been sad, but there was all of this energy and all of this stuff going on around me. And it was almost like the room was filled with millions and millions of beings. Does that make sense?
Yeah, just explain to us when you say high vibration energy. Yeah. What does that actually mean? What did you do in that in that moment when
I laid down in a cell. I laid down in this cell, and I could see all these kind of lights and things going on. And it was almost like imagine like the way the sun would feel when you're lying there in the sun. And it felt like that, like I was lying in the sun when I laid on this cell, and I couldn't think straight because all of my whole world had just come crashing down, you know.
Okay.
And so I was lying down on this cell, and then there was all this kind of stuff going on in my mind, and all of these lights and these feelings and these voices and all of this stuff going on. And I remember making some prayers, and but I just felt in that moment, I just felt so safe. That makes sense.
So would you say that was a moment or a sequence of many moments of total surrender?
Yeah, I had to surrender. That was it. There was no all of the control factors that I'd been using leading up to that moment was taken away, and I was completely surrendered.
Okay. So that is total receiving.
Absolutely.
That is the energy of receiving.
And it should have been for the person, the controller that I was, that should have been the worst moment of my life. But now the person that I am, I realized that was the most high frequency moment of my life. That's why I brought it up. Yeah.
So thanks for that, because that's the link. There are many different energies of receiving, but start looking at what does receiving look like for me. And that's such a beautiful example, because that surrender energy is where you just have no point of view, whatever's going to happen, you know, you're divinely connected. And that's when you start thriving.
It's this, isn't it? I never knew why I did that. So in all my ceremonies, each direction I'm doing this. Probably most of us do it when we do it. And that I realized afterwards, that's arms open to receive the divine flow, isn't it? That's what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Andrea's got her hand up.
Yes, Andrea, I see it there.
I'm following the rules.
Well done.
Thank you, Matt, for sharing that, and thank you for the opportunity to clean. I've released recently a project that I put together, which I briefly spoke about last week. It's called the Transcendent Master, and of course, it's about me. And what Martina said, that when did you receive? This receiving, that it reminded me when my mother took her own life. It's going to be her anniversary in May. But I think I mentioned you guys that when I went back to the funeral, there was this kind of what I made a picture out of. I framed it, and as I was rolling the hillsides and saying my prayers and blessings and doing my ceremonies recently, and really translating my dream time, really paying attention to the animals and what they speak, and nature and everything, I've realized that now I can receive that she did this, because without that, I wouldn't be who I am today, who I am now at this moment. And hence I wrote this poem called The Transcendent Master, because she passed this torch on to me, and in her picture that she created was a swan. So now I know when the swans come is my mother. And a few weeks ago when I went to, I think it was Transbury Ring, before that I saw this white owl, which is very, very rare to see. And I interpreted it, and she passed the torch on to me. So I was able to receive her legacy. And it's just not just for me, but I'm sure for all of us here to have that realization that what I'm doing is really creating these miracles, because other things happen, but I'm not ready to share that. But it's like, for me, it was just such a volume of space, of, I don't even know the good word for it, of freedom of receiving, that it just was something beyond comprehension. And when I saw that swan, I'm like, oh my God, the swans. Because you look at that picture every day, but the realization of receiving, the realization of, and the freedom that comes with it is just beyond, and then I also created this, I haven't put it out there yet, but something, a similar, not same picture, but you could see, like, if you put it next to each other, her creation and my creation. So it's like what it was when she did it probably many, many years ago, and my creation. And I created the sea glass, which Laura knows I'm collecting and creating with it. And this owl, I created an owl with the sea glass. And for me, this was just so profound a way of receiving, and if this happened, like she took her life in 2005 and now it's 2021. So it's like, wow, the freedom that comes with it's so profound. I can't even really
Thank you, Andrea.
express it.
Another lovely example for receiving. Now, going back to the initial question, anyone else who remembers a very uncomfortable moment in their lives that has some sort of energetic on that receiving?
Could chime in if you want. I I definitely had issues with my mom loving me too much, and I feel like I have issues receiving love because of like abundance of. Yeah, it came with other like abusive things. I'm still working on that, trying to figure that out, but I know it's definitely created a lot of blockages for me. That was it. Maybe it was the distortion. I don't know.
There was a bit of distortion, Alfredo. Yeah, but thanks for sharing. Yeah, this is an interesting one you mentioned, actually, because this is part of the forced receiving. Okay, so many of us have been forced receiving, not necessarily affection and love, but
Yeah.
information and very distorted and destructive information. And because of our psychic capacities and empathetic, capacities, especially when we're young, we are receiving so much of that information, and it's almost like cluttering us up, So that's part of the forced receiving. And this is also the reason why sometimes at some stage you just say, enough, I'm not receiving anymore. Barriers up. That's it. No more receiving until you start clearing your conditioning and your programming, and you can go back into that space where you actually realize how important it is to receive without a point of view, with an unlimited point of view, because otherwise you're actually cutting yourself off that divine flow that is available to you as a co-creator with this planet Earth and everyone else. And now I shut up.
Thanks, Martina. No, that was great. I think I can safely say that my whole perspective of the comfort zone has changed since we started this Zoom. And I think in saying it, what I wanted to look at was well, now I know it's about how we seek new levels of so-called comfort and how we progress ourselves. But I like that. I really like the slant Martina's put on it. And I'm going to let Amy speak because she's got her hand up.
Okay, so from what Martina said and Alfredo said, it's for me that most uncomfortable situation I've been through was unpacking those beliefs and patterns of mine. I did not want to look at them. I did not want to think that I've done that, It was a very uncomfortable situation. I don't know how else to put it. but it's now I'm so quick with it and have no judgments about them anymore. Even I've changed them to new beliefs and patterns and totally evolving every day with them. And that's very uncomfortable for me. So.
Thanks, Amy.
Thank you.
Alfredo.
Can you hear
Yeah, it was just kind of like a question for the group, like something that. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, but it's not a great connection, hello? Alfredo. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll try to move here.
Yeah.
Get closer to my Wi-Fi. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this is like a question for the group because it's something that ponders over me when I'm at work, because like I know I have issues receiving love, but I know that a lot of people look up to me and I inspire a lot of people, and they want to give me stuff, and people want to give me like compliments or admiration or like free water, like all sorts of stuff. But I don't know, it's like a part of me doesn't want to entangle with a lot of people because I have my own reasons, but at the same time I want to be able to receive love without entangling. But I don't know, it's kind of this weird spot, I guess you could say, because people like they want to admire me, they want to give me this stuff, they want to touch me, grab me, like all these things, but I know that I want boundaries with other people and not being able to entangle, but at the same time be able to receive love. Like I was just curious if anybody had a perspective on that. like situation. Yeah, that was it.
Okay, so I'm gonna give it a stab here. You know, receiving love, you call this the energy of love. You give it a name, but what are you actually really aware of when people want to touch you and give you stuff? Is this really love, or is this something else? And from that perspective, I wouldn't be surprised that you are hesitant to receive that because of the misidentification. You make yourself wrong for not being able to receive love, whereas you have an awareness that that has nothing to do with love. So if you could just call it what it is, they want to touch me, they want to give me water, and you can say yes or no, thank you very much, or I don't like to be touched, thank you. Yeah, the association with love itself is incarcerating you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, this doesn't sound like love to me. Somebody wants to grab you all the time, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's an icky
Well,
energy. It's more than okay to say thank you very much. You can still receive it, but you got to receive it for what it is. If you misidentify it with love, then you're going to start having a problem with receiving it. But if you can receiving for what it is, like a bit of an icky energy, then you know, it's going to be easy for you to receive. Maybe you want to look at it from their perspective. When they give you stuff and do whatever they do, just call it what it is. Then it will be easier for you to receive it.
I have to let that process a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I always try to discern like the energy, like whatever's coming at me, and maybe that makes me anxious. Or like, is this love or is this, you know, something else? Or because I always try to just, you know, perceive what is like a touch of love, or what is a touch of, you know, possible harvesting or whatever, you know, like. I don't know, I'm always unbalanced because I'm surrounded by a lot of people like all the time, and I kind of, a lot of people follow me around. Everybody wants to be around my energy, so.
Well, this sounds more that they are energy vampires, really.
Yeah, like I try.
I would just say when that happens, don't go into conflict, this and that. Just ask yourself the question, what is this? What is this? And then see what your awareness brings up for you. What is this? And do I want to, receiving goes either way, yeah? Receiving good stuff and receiving negative stuff. But the question is what, you have to have clarity in what it is that you are supposed to be receiving, so that you don't go into that weird, you know, conflicting universe, what that is. So just ask the question, what is that? In your own head, what is that? What do I do with this? And then just allow yourself to go, see what happens with that.
Thanks, Martina. Yeah, I'll
Sure.
just add that through my day. Thank you.
Linda, you got your hand up. Sorry, ladies.
It may not be appropriate, but I'm just thinking with Alfredo, if you've grown up in if you've developed in a situation where there was conflicting emotions all the time, so you didn't know quite how to read what was going on, and things were being given to you from a position of so-called love, but actually it didn't feel very loving, and you didn't know how to respond to that because sometimes it was overwhelming and you get angry and then you'd be punished for being overwhelmed. So then as you become more adult, and then I think because you're not always assertive about how you're feeling, and you're not necessarily reading the situation always correctly, and then sometimes you might come across as too strong, or you might not have been assertive enough and dealt with it initially, and then everything sort of feels overwhelming. I don't know if I'm making sense. Am I making sense, Alfredo?
Yeah, crystal clear sense. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and then so the actual receiving feels more like a threat, even if it is loving. So it's very difficult to receive because it's a trust issue, I think. And I think a lot of it is trusting within yourself and becoming clear about what you are feeling and how you're managing your emotions and what it's safe to do. And that it's very difficult, but this sort of group is amazing for that sort of thing. Is that, I don't know if I've helped or just confused things.
Yeah, hell yeah, very helpful. No, I just want to ask for other people's perspective because I get a cumulative answer. And I can see it from all these different angles and whatnot. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I like what Linda said, especially about trusting your own discernment if the energy is coming at you. Thanks, Linda. That was great. Thanks, Alfredo, for the question. Has anybody else got anything for him?
I think if you have a question at all about something that's coming towards you and you question it at all, even if you don't know what it is, I think just the question is enough. You don't even have to know sometimes exactly what it is. Yes, Alan, you're laughing there. Have you something to say? No? Okay.
Alan said, let's all get naked and have a cold shower.
Yes, I saw that. He's getting carried away.
Thanks, Alfredo. That was a great question. Has anyone else got anything for him before we leave that and get in the shower?
Alan is running it. No? Does anybody else have any other example they want to give us? Or do you have anything, Laura, you want to bring?
No, I'm watching my battery, which is about to go on my iPad soon. And
Okay.
I'm not in the vicinity of a plug, so I'll probably just go suddenly.
Okay.
So I'll say goodbye now.
Well, have we ran out of steam here then? Have we kind of covered what we need to cover? Does anybody have anything else that they want to add or say at this stage? I think that's a no, is it, Alan? Okay, sure. Maybe will we call it a day, Laura? It does seem like people have just kind of. Has Alfredo something else to say? His hand is still up before we go. Do you, Alfredo?
No, I forgot to put that down.
Take down your hand.
I'm done.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
No problem.
You said Zoom thing.
Fine.
Thanks, everybody. No, I think we've worked our way from comfort zone to choice.
Yes.
I
Which is
think
fantastic.
we flipped the frequency.
Yes.
We have. Thanks, Amy. So thanks, everybody. Yeah, thanks, everybody,
thank you
for coming on. And
you.
hopefully we'll see you all next week.
Yes.
Thank you
and
very
thanks
much.
everybody for all your contributions. We
Thanks.
really appreciate all you've shared, all of you. It's great. It's what makes the show. So well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks.
Cheers.
Bye.